All right, today we're going to be going over multi-step equations. First, let me start by apologizing for how blurry the file is. Like, I wish I could make it cleaner. I just can't. So, hopefully what you printed out is a little bit cleaner in front of you. So I would try to read off of your paper instead of off the video, and then try to follow along as best you can, okay? So let's go over multi-step equations. Remember, we already did one step and two step. This is going to be a little bit more involved. There's going to be a lot of steps, and it's still going to have a lot of the same principles. We just have to do some pre-steps first, okay? So let's take a look at example number one. Example number one says, I want to solve x plus 6 over 5 is equal to 10. The goal is still to get the x by itself. Step one is to get the expression that has the same variable. This one's a little bit different. The expression that has the variable is the x plus 6. That's different from what we were doing earlier on your previous examples. I believe in your previous examples, it looks something like this instead. In this case, the term that has the variable is the x over 5. But notice that this time, because they're both in the numerator, then these two are together, and we're actually going to get rid of that divided by 5 first, okay? So x plus 6 is being divided by 5. To get rid of the 5, you must do the inverse operation, which is of what is already being done to both sides. So the inverse of division is multiplication. I don't like the fact that they put that x there. You should be really just writing like a 5 dot, okay? Or put the 5 in parentheses. Regardless, these 5s are going to cancel. And I just realized the x plus 6 is what we're trying to get by itself. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's try that again. The x plus 6 is what I'm trying to get by itself. These 5s are going to cancel, the times 5 and the divided by 5. The x plus 6 is going to drop, and 10 times 5 gives me 50. That should be an equals 50. Step 2, get the variable x by itself. Okay, so I have x plus 6 equal to 50. Now I'm trying to get this x by itself. The operation between x and 6 is addition. Forgot an n over there. To get rid of the 6, we must do the inverse operation. The inverse operation in this case would be subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. These are going to cancel. The x is going to drop, 50 minus 6, and I get 44. And that takes care of my first problem. Let's go to example number 2. I got 7y plus 3 over 4 is equal to 6. Same kind of setup. My ultimate goal is to get y by itself. Step 1 is to get the expression that has the variable alone. So this time, I'm trying to get the 7y plus 3 by itself because they're all in the numerator, okay? To get the 7y plus 3 by itself, you must get rid of the 4. The operation between 7y plus 3 and 4 is division. To get rid of the 4, you must do the inverse operation of what is already being done to both sides. The inverse operation being done is multiplication. So again, I'm trying to get this 7y plus 3 by itself. That means I need to get rid of the divide by 4. I get rid of the divide by 4 by multiplying both sides by 4. These are going to cancel. And now you get 6 times 4, which is just 24. Now, if you look at this problem, it looks like a two-step equation, which we were doing earlier. I want to get the variable y by itself. In order for me to do this, I must get the term that has the variable y alone. That is to say, I need to get the 7y by itself. You must get rid of the 3. The 3 is being added to the 7y. The opposite of addition is subtraction. And guys, this pen is a little thick, so let me go ahead and change the width of this really quick. Just give me 1 second. Hopefully it's not as bubbly anymore. So what I'm going to do, And remember, we said that 7y plus 3 was equal to 24. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 3 on each side. These are going to cancel. 24 minus 3 gives me 21. And I get 7y is equal to 21. Hey, we're almost done. Now I want to get the y alone, right? So I'm going to go ahead and highlight the y. Right now, that y is being multiplied by 7. To get rid of the times 7, I'm going to divide both sides by 7. These are going to cancel. And I get y is equal to 3. So a lot of steps on that one. But again, if you keep following the same procedure that we've been doing in the past, it's just adding in like an extra step, okay? Okay, this one's a little bit different because I have these parentheses. So example number 3 says, I got 2 parentheses 5x plus 10 is equal to 6. I'm sorry, plus 6 is equal to 26. Our goal is to get the x by itself. In this case, though, our first step is going to be to distribute. So I'm going to take this 2 and I'm going to distribute it in here. 2 times 5x, that gives me a 10x. And then 2 times negative 10 is negative 20. So what I know is that this 2 parentheses 5x minus 10 is the exact same thing as 10x minus 20. So instead of writing 2 parentheses 5x minus 10, my new equation is going to be 10x minus 20 plus 6 is equal to 26. And I'm just going to get rid of this. I don't like the way they wrote that. Yeah, all I did was I distributed 10x minus 20. I added the 6 and then it's equal to 26. That's how I got this new equation there. All right, step 2, combine like terms on the left-hand side. So is there any terms that are similar to each other? Absolutely. There's this negative 20 and this positive 6 that I can combine because they're like terms. I can't combine that with the x, though. So if I combine the x's, there's nothing, right? It's just 10x. If I combine the terms without the x, then I would end up with a negative 14. So my new equation is 10x minus 14 is equal to 26. All I did was I combined the terms in pink. Okay, now step 3, get the term with the variable x by itself. So in this case, I'm going to get that 10x by itself. In order for me to do that, I must get rid of the 14. To get rid of the 14, we must do the opposite operation. The inverse operation of subtraction is addition. So I'm going to take my 10x minus 14 equal to 26. I'm going to add 14 to both sides. These are going to cancel. The 10x is going to drop. Now I have 10x is equal to 40. Last step is to isolate the variable. So what they're saying is, and I'm going to do this over here because I'm running out of space. Now I have 10x equal to 40, and I'm going to get that x by itself. Right now that x is being multiplied by 10. To get rid of it, I'm going to divide both sides by 10. These are going to cancel, and I get x equals 4. And that is my final answer. Lot of stuff going on right here, but that's okay. We've been kind of used to doing all these little mini steps, and now we're just going to put them all together. My ultimate goal is to get the variable y by itself. First, I'm going to distribute. So I'm going to take this negative 3, and I'm going to distribute it here and here. Let me go ahead and erase that and do it one more time. I'm going to take that negative 3 and I'm going to multiply it by 6y. What I end up with is negative 18y. Then I'm going to take that negative 3 and I'm going to multiply it by the 5. And what I end up with is a negative 15. So my new problem is going to be 8 minus 18y minus 15. And I still have the plus 9. I still have the equals negative 22. Okay? So all I did was I distributed. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to combine like terms. Well, in this case, there's lots of things I can combine. As far as the y's are concerned, the y is kind of by itself, so let me write it as negative 18y. There are no other y's on that side. As far as the numbers are concerned, there's plenty that I can combine. I can combine this positive 8 with this minus 15 and this plus 9. So let's see. 8 minus 15 is negative 7. Negative 7 plus 9 gives me a positive 2. So what do I end up with? I end up with a negative 18y, a positive 2 is equal to negative 22. All I did was I combined the terms in pink. Now it looks like a two-step equation like the ones we were doing yesterday. Step 3 is to get the term with the variable y by itself. That is to say, I want to get this negative 18y by itself. In order for me to do this, I must get rid of the 2. To get rid of the 2, we must do the inverse operation. Right now it's being added by 2, so the inverse operation must be subtraction. So I get negative 18y plus 2 is equal to negative 22. Trying to get this one, whoop, wrong color. I'm trying to get this one by itself. So I'm going to subtract 2 on each side. These are going to cancel. I get negative 18y is equal to negative 24. Now I'm going to isolate the variable, which means I'm trying to get this y by itself. I'm running out of space, so just like last time, I'm going to go ahead and do this last step over here. I have negative 18y is equal to negative 24. Let me just make sure I didn't make a mistake, because it looks like I am ending up with a fraction. But I think I'm good. I think this is right. So let me go ahead and keep going. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 18. These are going to cancel. And I get y is equal to, notice that negative is going to be canceling each other out. And now I have 24 over 18. Hey, 24 over 18 is a fraction, and it does simplify. So I'm going to look for the biggest number that goes into both, the 24 and the 18, and that would be a 6. So when I divide the top by 6, and I divide by the bottom by 6, 24 divided by 6 gives me 4, and then 18 divided by 6 gives me 3. So my answer should be 4 over 3, unless I made a silly mistake somewhere, which I don't think I did. Let me just check one more time. No, I think we're good. Plus 2 minus 2. Yeah, I think we're okay. All right, so we just ended up with the question with the fraction, and that it is what it is. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Example 1, I want to solve 6z plus 2 is equal to 2z plus 26. I want to get the variable z by itself. All right. Hey, this one's a little bit different because I have z's on each side of the equal sign. So in this case, when they say combine like terms, I really don't like that. What I really want to say is like get all the z's on the left and get all the numbers on the right, or vice versa, right? We want to move all the z's over to one side. So in order for me to move the z's over to one side, I need the 6z and the 2z to be combined. The 2 and the 6, the 2 and the 26 are also like terms, okay? The positive 2 and the 26. So what I'm saying is these are z's. These are what we call constants. They're just regular numbers. And I want to combine the z's with the z's and the constants with the constants. But in order for me to move them over that line, we need to do the opposite operation, okay? To move the 2z, you must do the inverse operation. Since 2z is positive, we're going to do the opposite, which means we're going to subtract 2z. So I'm going to take the 2z, I'm going to subtract 2z. What ends up happening there is these are going to cancel. And then 6z minus 2z gives me 4z is equal to 2 plus 26, okay? Next, we're going to move the 2 because, again, I want all my z's on the left and I want all my constants on the other side. So I'm going to get rid of the 2. To get rid of the 2, we must do the inverse operation. So the opposite of a plus 2 is a minus 2. And I'm going to be doing subtraction because that's the opposite of addition. When these happen, these are going to cancel each other out. I still have 4z's left over, and then I got 26 minus 2, which is 24. Now this just becomes a one-step equation. Step 2 is to get the variable z by itself. The operation between z and 4 is multiplication. To get the 4, to get rid of the 4, we must do the inverse operation. The inverse operation is division. So 4z equals 24. I'm trying to get this z by itself. That says times 4. The opposite of times 4 is divide by 4. These are going to cancel. Z equals 6 as my final answer. Okay, we're almost done with the regular problems, and then we'll do the practice problems in the back. All right, as soon as I see parentheses in front of numbers, I probably should distribute. Okay, so let's see. It says, let's get the variable x by itself. I want to distribute the left side, and I want to distribute the right side. When I distribute the left side, I get negative 3 times 8x. That's a negative 24x. I get negative 3 times negative 2. That's a positive 6. When I distribute the right side, I get 4 times negative 2x. That's a negative 8x. And then 4 times 10, that's going to give me a positive 40. So when I write my new equation, on the new equation, it's just going to be negative 24x plus 6. On the right side, please don't just write this. Understand that you still have a 62 there. So I need to start my equation with 62. And then I can write down what I have. I have a minus 8x and a plus 40. All right, step 2, I want to combine like terms so that all the terms with the variable x are on one side of the equation and all the constants are on the opposite side. Now here's where you can be a little bit smart with it. You can either move these 8x's over this way, or we can move the 24x's over this way. One of them is going to give me a positive and the other one's going to give me a negative. I always like to work with positives if I can. All right, so I'm going to add 24x to each side. That way, what I'm left with is a positive number. If I added 8x's on each side, I would be left with a negative number, and that just makes it a little bit more difficult. Okay, so I want to combine like terms, so all the terms with the variable are on one side of the equation. Let me go ahead and write this. Let's see, I got negative 24x plus 6 is equal to 62 minus 8x plus 40. All right, let's see. We said we were going to add 24x's on each side. That's once on the left. And I'm going to add 24x's to the right side, just once on the right. These are going to cancel. I'm left with 6 equals 62. 8, a negative 8 plus 24 is a positive 16x plus 40. Hey, and over here, before I start moving stuff, do you see that I can actually add these two numbers? Like, it's the same type of stuff. I have a 62 and I have a 40 over here. And they're both on the same side, so I can just add them together. Let me go ahead and write that this is 6 is equal to 16x. 62 plus 40 gives me 102. All right, I have my x's on the right side. If I have my x's on the right side, I want to get my numbers on the left side. So that means I do need to get rid of that 102. Let me write this again. This is 6 equals 16x plus 102. I'm going to get rid of that plus 102, so that way all my x's are on the right and all my numbers are on the left. To get rid of that plus 102, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to subtract 102 from each side. These are going to cancel. I get 16x on the right. And on the left, I get, I think that's 96, negative 96. Okay, and then the last step is to divide both sides. Oh, I'm going to rewrite the problem now. I got negative 96 is equal to 16x. We did all that work, and now we're just going to go ahead and solve for x. So we can go ahead and do that right now. I'm trying to get this x by itself. To get that x by itself, negative 96 is equal to 16 times x. We're going to divide both sides by 16. These are going to cancel. I get x is equal to, I think that is 6. Yeah, let me just check. 16 times 6, that's 36. Bring up the 3. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. Yep, that definitely works. Okay. So my answer is x equals -6. Sorry, I forgot the negative symbol there. All right, so those are our practice problems. Let's go ahead and go and start solving these now. Same kind of process. So let's see. Step number 1. I see that there's x's on both sides. So first I'm going to move all my x's to one side and all my numbers to the other. I can have options, but to make it a positive, I'm going to add 5x to each side. And my weight is a little off, so let me go ahead and make it thicker now. I'm doing this so that way all my x's are on the right and all my numbers are on the left. This is 9 equals 7x minus 54. I'm almost done. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that minus 54 by adding 54 on both sides. That gives me 63 is equal to 7x. We're going to do the opposite now because I'm trying to get that x by itself. That says times 7, so we're going to divide both sides by 7. These are going to cancel. I get 9 is equal to x. Here, I see a couple of things. I see something with the distributive property, and I see like terms. So let me go ahead and do the distributive property first. 8 times 4x, that's going to give me a 32x. 8 times -6, that's going to give me a minus 48. Is equal to -6x plus 30 plus 12x. Notice that on this side, I can combine these terms because they're the exact same thing. I have -6x with a positive 12x. I can just add those two together. And so I get 32x minus 48 is equal to 6x plus 30. Now that I have it like this, I'm going to swing all my x's over to one side. Okay, get the x's on one side. Because they're on different sides of the equation, I need to do the opposite operation to get rid of that 6x. The opposite of a positive 6x is a minus 6x. These are going to cancel. 32 minus 6x, that's 26x minus 48 is equal to 30. Now this just becomes a two-step equation, which means I want to get the term that has the x by itself. I'm trying to get this 26x by itself. To get the 26x by itself, I'm going to get rid of the minus 48. So I'm going to add 48 to both sides. And then I'm trying to get x by itself, which means I'm being multiplied by 26. The opposite of multiply by 26 is divide by 26. I get x equals 3. On this one, remember that when you have everything in the numerator, technically these guys are together. Thankfully, there's only x's on one side, so I can just go ahead and start solving this. So right now, that 4x plus 2 is being divided by -6, so I need to do the opposite operation. I need to multiply both sides by -6. It's going to be -6 times -4x plus 2 over 6 is equal to 7 times -6. All I did was I multiplied both sides by -6. These negatives are going to cancel. These 6's are going to cancel. I'm left with the 4x plus 2 is equal to -42. Now it's just a two-step equation. I'm going to isolate the term that has the variable in it. So I'm going to get this 4x by itself. In order to get, right now I realize that that 4x is being added by 2. So I'm going to subtract 2 on each side to do the opposite and get rid of the plus 2. I get 4x is equal to -44. Now I can get the x by itself. I realize that it's being multiplied by 4, so I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to divide by 4 on both sides. These are going to cancel. I get x equals -11. We are down to our last problem. Again, I see that distributive, right? So as soon as I see the distributive, we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. So we're going to distribute the -3. I get z over 7 plus 5 is equal to 132 minus 3z plus 27. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add 3z to both sides, and this is where we're going to run into a little bit of trouble because some of us don't really like fractions. But honestly, this is probably going to be probably the easier way just because the numbers get so large. Okay, so let me go ahead and add these. I'm going to add 3z. The problem is I can't really add 3z with 7z because they don't have the same denominator. So let me do this work on the side just so you can see it. I want to add 3z plus z over 7. They don't have the same denominator. So what am I going to do? I'm going to change this into a fraction. Then I'm going to make it so that they do have the same denominator. And now that becomes 7 times 3, which is 21z. Remember, I'm doing this on the side. 21z over 7 plus z over 7. If I had 21 z's with another z, remember that's a 1z, that's going to be 22 z's over 7. So this becomes 22z over 7 plus 5 is equal to, and the other thing I notice is that I can actually combine these two terms. I have a 132 with a plus 27. That becomes a 159. Okay, I think we did the hard part, was getting that 22z over 7 and understanding why. Now that I have that, I'm just going to go ahead and start solving for z. So right now, this is what has the z, the 22 over 7. I need to get rid of the plus 5. So I'm going to subtract 5 on each side. These are going to cancel. I get 22z over 7 is equal to 154. We're going to multiply both sides by 7. These are going to cancel. Again, a lot of side work on this one. So 154 times 7. Let's see what that gives me. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Let's not do that. 154 times 7. That's going to give me a 28. Bring up the 2. 5 times 7 is 35. Plus 2 is 37. Bring up the 3. 1 times 7 is 7 plus 3. That's a 1,078. 22z is equal to 1,078. Last step is to divide both sides by 22. These are going to cancel. 1,078 divided by 22. I think I can do 5. Nope, I'm going to have to only do 4. 4 times 22 is 88. I'm going to subtract these. Let's see. I need to borrow. That's a 17. Oh, I can't borrow from here. So that's 0. That's 10. But then it gets borrowed, so it's 9. 17 minus 8 is 9. And then 9 minus 8, that's 1. And then I get a 198. I believe that's 9 as my answer. So z equals 49. Okay, that's all the notes for today. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to ask.